Hey, so I just want to go over some beginner techniques so that you can join in other flow classes, whether it be mine or anywhere that you go. So there's some terms that I use in my other class, which is a flow class here, and you might not know what they are until you've seen this. So first I'm going to go through the sun salutation sequence that I do through my practice. So some of the common things. So when we go from down dog and I talk about diagonal shape, so it's actually, not from down dog, from hands and knees. So we have a tabletop position, and in tabletop position, it's wrists stacked under shoulders and knees stacked under the hips. But when we're working with chaturanga or the variations of chaturanga for the sun salutations, it's a diagonal shape that I talk about and that I work with. I learned all this from Sadie Nardini, by the way. She's really amazing at biomechanics for yoga. All her stuff's online. So Sadie Nardini. So the hands come forward a little bit, but then also the shoulders come forward again, but to align with the wrists, but not near the ears. So we still want the shoulder blades moving down the back. And see how I haven't sagged my hips down and I haven't sent my booty up? That hurts my back to do that. So we still want that core nice and strong. So we talk about that rib and hip connection. So what we mean is, so I always had like a banana back. I always had my booty sticking out and rib cage flaring forward. I've had to do a lot of Pilates and still am doing a lot of Pilates to sort of counteract that. So some of you won't have that, but what we mean by rib and hip connection is that we want the bottom of the rib cage in line with the hips, and that keeps our core on and keeps the spine protected. So that's what that diagonal shape is. So it's not hands, so we go from hands and knees to diagonal shape. Then when we lower down, so I usually give the option to lower down to the belly. In fact, I often even just practice that. I do a bit of chaturanga, but for me, chaturanga is very yang, it's very my masculine, and so it was actually put in the practice, in Ashtanga practice in India for 15-year-old boys so that they could just burn all their sexual energy, all their hormones. So for me as a woman, who's no longer in my 20s, hey, let's face it, I don't need a lot of that hardcore yang stuff, but I do really need that containment and stability stuff for my core. So given that information, just work with what you feel is going to be right for you. If you've got heaps of energy to burn and you're strong, then yeah, go for it. Just be aware that a lot of the time with that chaturanga practice, people are smashing into their shoulders, they're going into their back, they're doing it, but they're not doing it with the alignment that's required to do it safely and to actually build strength, rather than smash the body, smash the joints, smash the tendons. So just be aware of that. And also, it's never not hard work if you're aligning properly and switching everything on properly. It doesn't stop being hard work. So you've got to think about that. Like, if this is too easy, what am I not switching on? Anyway, so diagonal shape, we'll go, so we go from here, heart comes forward, shoulder blades away from the ears. Try to keep these two big toes together, toes flat on the floor. Then lower to the belly. So this is a core activation as well. So it's not sag down. So we try not to use gravity to get down there. We want to go into our triceps and the core. So we bend the elbows back behind, so the elbows aren't going out to the sides like a push-up. Your middle fingers face forward, your fingertips are spread, you're pressing into the palms and the finger pads. And then bend the elbows back behind you and lower. So as though you're keeping a plank shape, like a knee down plank shape, to lower slowly to the floor and gently place the hips down. All right. And then from here, a lot of people teach cobra with the hands up under the shoulders, but biomechanically, I believe, for my body, so you can work out what's right for your body, we want to try to move the wrists down to stack under the elbows. Some people won't have that flexibility though, so just move them as far back as they'll go. But ultimately we're sending them back here, and we want to lift the shoulders up. So a lot of us will roll it down, and you'll see people doing chaturanga with their shoulders rolled down and their head cranked back. Oh, it feels so awful to do that. So what we want here is to roll the shoulders back. We're lifting them up away from the floor, so a little squeeze of the shoulder blades. And then we inhale, and we look straight forward. We don't want to look up because that just cranks the neck. So take an inhale here. Then on the exhale, it initiates from the core. So the cobra lift should initiate from the core. So a lot of people would press the palms and just lift up, but that's not it. So what we want to do is start with the core. So again, squeeze the core up and in, that rib and hip connection. And you almost like, it's as though you're peeling the belly off the floor. And as you peel the belly off the floor with the core switched on, you'll feel weight come into the palms. So then gently press the palms, lift the heart, but keep using the core to peel yourself up away from the floor. And weight will be in your triceps. It's not easy when you're activating the right muscles. But then we want to relax the heart. So inhale, lift the heart up and press it back in space. And then exhale, slowly lower back down. Then take another inhale in to tuck the toes, and exhale, we want to press up. Same thing, when you're pressing up, we're not pushing it up like this and then sticking our ass out. It's actually, again, we want to use the core to press up as well. So take an inhale, and then on the exhale, squeeze the core. So press the pelvis into the floor to align the hip, rib and hip connection. So core kind of comes off the floor. Then press into the palms, keep squeezing the core, maintain that plank shape. To press up feels completely different. And you might be able to do that with knees off the floor into plank. And then press back down dog. Just like that easy. Alright, so that's the chaturanga. I'm not going to go through down dog today. Down dog's got a lot going on in it as well. There'll be lots of YouTube stuff on down dog. The other thing are just the warrior shapes. So a common misconception about warrior one is that it's on a tightrope, that the back foot is in line with the front foot, but in fact they should really be at least sitting bone distance apart. But if, depending on your hips, your feet might be quite far apart for a warrior one, and so the back foot slides straight back in line from here. So it's not back here behind the front foot, it's over here, sideways. So if you were to step it forward, your feet will be apart. So you just slide it straight back. And it's not quite as long a stance as a warrior two, but then we're working the hips towards square, but they might not be square. You might be really tight in that back hip flexor. The other thing is to not lock out that back knee, so it looks straight, but it's just got a tiny micro bend. You want to press into the outer blade of the back foot, squeeze the core up and in, and then rotate that chest forward. And then the arms, whatever. Different styles of yoga will do the arms differently, but just biomechanically for the hips, those feet should be apart, not in line with each other. But with warrior two, the feet can be in line with each other. It's a longer stance, and that back foot, it's almost parallel, not quite, almost parallel to the back of the mat. And the hips are open, they are facing out towards the left. We're not trying to get the hips to face forward, they are pretty much facing to the left. And you squeeze the core up and in, and then I've actually been taught both ways, so I'm just going to invite you to, I've been taught two different opposing ways for the hips. Neither of them have been bad for my hips, so I'm just going to leave it with you to figure out what's better for you, or see a teacher to be guided which way is better. So one way I've been taught to do it is to peel the back butt cheek under. So when you peel that open, it externally rotates the back hip, and then sink into the front knee, But I've been also taught to internally rotate the back hip and externally rotate the front hip. So you'd be pressing into the outer blade of the back foot and trying to wind the left thigh forward a bit more, and then press into the front foot and try and squeeze in and lift up a little through the right butt cheek. So both of them, if I'm practicing them strongly and with stability, are okay for my hips. Try either, see which ones are working better for you. It shouldn't be hip pain, and maybe talk to your own teacher. As I said, different styles of yoga will teach things differently. So there's so many things, there's so many different things I can talk about, but I just want to leave it with that. They were the main ones. There's lots of put your back knee down variations as well. Actually, knee down warrior 1 and 2, I'll just quickly go through those. So if you want to do a knee down warrior 1, obviously back heel up first and then that knee comes down. But with the back toes, they will point towards the back corner, back opposite side corner of the mat. So it's swiveled toes a little to the other side. And then from here, it's the same thing, squeeze the core up and in, square the hips, and then sink forward this way. So that's a knee down warrior 1. And then the knee down warrior 2, the back foot will swivel so that the toes are really parallel to the back of the mat. So that back leg is parallel to the back of the mat. Hips are facing sideways again. Right foot, you just have to figure out with your hips if it needs to be central, if it needs to be open a bit more. But I tend to try to shift it into the middle, squeeze core up and in, and then you can sink into that front knee. And we don't want the front knee ever. This is both variations of warrior 2 or 1. We don't want the front knee going further than the ankle in that direction. You always want to have the foot far enough so that the knee either stacks over the ankle or it's further away, so it's back this way. It's definitely not past the ankle in that direction. So that's knee down warrior 1, knee down warrior 2, chaturanga. And the other thing I just want to mention is with the spine and the breathing. So when you, and this is, because this is anywhere you are in the whole practice, is we want to work with if you're holding a pose, or even if you're not, if you're moving in a pose, this lengthening of the spine. So inhale, and like space occurring between each vertebrae. So each inhale is just making you a bit longer, and then the exhale is for surrender. So just leaning more into the pose, but holding the core strong. So it's always inhale, lengthen up through the spine. And then exhale, squeeze core, but lean more, either depending on what pose you're in, lean into it more or lengthen more, so that we're not doing things like hunching the spine over, trying to push ourselves into a pose. We're really working so much with the breath here. That's all I'm going to talk about for the absolute beginners. I hope that it was helpful, and I hope you enjoy the other flow class.